Without commitment, you'll never start. But more importantly, without consistency, you'll never finish. It's not easy. If it was easy, there'd be no Kerry Washington. If it was easy, there'd be no Taraji Henson, Pete Henson. If it were easy, there'd be no Octavia Spencer. But not only that, if it were easy, there'd be no Viola Davis. If it were easy, there'd be no Michael T. Williamson, no Stephen McKinley Henderson, no Russell Hornsby. If it were easy, there'd be no Denzel Washington. So, keep working, keep striving, never give up, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. So, keep moving, keep growing, keep learning. See you at work.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're back in these airwaves. Had a good vacation. I hope you missed me, because I'm back in the airwaves, back in the studio today, and something special. I told you, changes happen slowly, but when they happen, they happen. So for the first day today, we're on 104.9, as well as our sister station, 1490 AM. We still have our WLTT audience at 1180 AM. You can catch us on Facebook Live. You also can catch us on Gospel Joy Facebook Live. So we're everywhere today. Sometimes you have to just wait on change, but when change happens, it's powerful. And we told you some powerful things was coming here at the radio station. So we're welcoming the 104.9 FM audience to the No Cover Show, and the 1490 AM audience to the No Cover Show. And you all as regular guests, welcome our Facebook guests that are coming in. Glad to have you on the air today. I'm glad to be back. I had a good vacation. I appreciate all the comments that were given to me on my anniversary. Spent some time with my lovely wife and got to just relax and get myself together to get ready for this political season that we got coming up. But I want to do something different on Wednesday shows for the next, probably next year. We're going to go back to school on Wednesdays. We're still talking money and events as usual. We deal with our political commentary, but I want to take Wednesdays to deal with back to school and deal with some tips that I can give Black parents, having been a Black parent, on how to operate within our school system, because sometimes we have a difficulty doing that. And I want my audience to call in. The call-in numbers are 765-0099 now. Instead of 0097, the call-in line is 765-0099 here on the 104.9 FM call-in line. If you have some suggestions, but I want to first, I know I get some naysayers first, because I know what they say is why you want to give Black school tips for Black parents? Why not all parents? And that's always a question that I always get, with no covers. Why you always focusing on Black folks? Literally, because it's different. The Black to school tips that I'm going to share with Black parents are just different for us. Here's the reason why. Let me give you some numbers and let me give you some reports. The reports of the Brown Center Report, the National Bureau of Economic Research, the Pew Report, the Stanford Center for Education Policy, all of those reports, major reports that they do on a yearly basis, all of them have said since 1990 to 2015, the achievement gap is virtually unchanged. From 1990 to 2015, the achievement gap, and for you all that might not be familiar with the achievement gap is they take the achievement standard of white students and then they subtract the Black students and they come up with a gap. It's usually between a 33 to 40% point gap difference. You hear what I just said? The achievement gap for Black students between white students is average 33 to 40 points. In 1990, it was about 33 points. In 2000, it went up to 40 points. In the last 15 years, it's come back down to 32 points. These are national statistics. So that achievement gap is telling us that the achievement gap, the the gap between the educational achievement and outcomes for Black students are about 33 to 40% different for white students. Now, does that mean that Black students are not as smart as white students? That's what some would have you believe. There are some scientific documentation, some psychologists that have documented, some scholars that have documented. They've tried to document that that's just the fact, that the Black student is not as academically gifted as the white student. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. It's not a difference in the achievement of what we can accomplish. It's what's put into it. And so what I want to do on Wednesdays now is I want to help parents, especially Black parents, figure out how to get past this achievement gap. Now, let me say that I have experience in this. I'm not talking from, hey, hustle muscle. I'm not talking from a base of no experience. I'm talking from a base of a gentleman that have graduated 4 within the New Hanover County school system. 3 of those have graduated from the early college school system, meaning that they graduated not with a high school diploma, but with a college degree of a 2-year education in college. They were able to go to any college university that they wanted to because they had already graduated with an associate's degree from the New Hanover County school system. So we found out how to break the achievement gap. I also have a son in Fayetteville right now that's in the early college program, one in another program. So I always pushed education. This is nothing new that I'm starting. I've always been fond of pushing education within my children. I also worked in the school system. I worked at DC Virgo for a time period when it got reopened back up. And I was able to see something that I want to share with you is the reason why we have this large achievement gap. And I want to share with you over and over and over till we get it. Here is what the problem, and many of you want to call in, you can call in 765-0099, but here's what problem that I see among us as Blacks when it concerns achievement gap. And I see my brother Theodore, how you doing, brother Theodore, online? And he hit it. He hit it from the first, that's my first note, brother. He said we don't participate in the system. We participate in getting clothes to go to the system. We participate in looking good when we go to school. We participate in looking. I'm gonna share something with you that happened in 1970s with me when we got out of segregation and went to the integrated school system. I never forget this. I went from Newsom Park Elementary School to a school called R.O. Nepson. I'm one of the last schools in Virginia that integrated. So I still remember the eggs being thrown at the bus as we went to the school for the first time with white students. I remember parents and I remember the police officers out there literally had to shield us from the egg throwing parents that were bombing little children with eggs as we went into the Newport News school system at that time. And the school was called R.O. Nelson. I've always remembered this discussion between my mother and father because I had an older brother who was 4 years older than me. And every year when school got started, mother would take out the clothes from my brother that she kept cleaning. He knew to wear good because I needed them for school. And these were my school clothes. I don't recall getting new school clothes until I got to R.O. Nelson. The biggest conversation in my house when we got to R.O. Nelson was my mother wanted me to make sure, or she wanted to make sure I felt comfortable going to school with white children because she wanted me to have good clothing like they had. She wasn't wrong in her thought process. It made me feel good. However, as a people, that became our thought process. Our thought process when we integrated into the school system was to make sure we looked good, to make sure our children had nice things like the other children, to make sure our children didn't feel underprivileged and deprived because they didn't have the new tennis shoes or the new backpack or the new Jordans or the new clothing. But what we didn't do is provide them with the new computer, with the new iPad, with the new Hooked on Phonics, with the new after-school activities that would increase their education. So a lot of times, it's not that the Black child doesn't have the potential to get past the achievement gap is that we as parents don't put and instill in our children the tools necessary to get past that achievement gap. That is why I said earlier this week on my page, I saw parents complaining about the extra expenses that they had to pay for education, especially when they went to school and the school teacher needed extra school supplies. And we got upset because why should we have to pay extra school supplies in a school that our children are going from and our tax dollars are paying for that? Well, a lot of times because the teacher wants better for your children and she has to get these extra supplies to enhance her academic advancement in the classroom because the state of North Carolina is not providing her what she needs. So a lot of times she asks for extra. Make sure your children get that extra. My point was they have extra Jordans. Which is better, invested in education and investing $150 to $200 in a pair of Jordans? A lot of times our process is backwards. And therefore our children enter into the school system backwards. Our emphasis is on basketball. See, whereas I was at DC Virgo, I saw parents who could tell me when the tryouts were for basketball. They knew exactly when the tryouts were for the football team. But they couldn't tell me what time the PTA meeting started. They couldn't tell me what time the child's conference started at the school. But they knew also well the schedule for basketball and football. We're invested in the wrong things. Let me show you how this works when we invest in sports versus education with our children. And don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with sports. Don't get me wrong. I like to watch a good game every once in a while. I like to watch football and a little basketball every once in a while. I used to love to go out to the Friday night football games or the Friday night basketball games. But let me show you what happens. On a basketball team, there's only going to be about 12 or 13 players that play. On a football team, there's only so many players that's going to play. And actually starting, there are only so many players that's going to start. So let me share you with the conscious decision I had to make as a parent growing up. I had a son, and he really wanted to play basketball, and several other ones he wanted to play football. And they were pretty good. I looked at them. I looked at the size of myself, and I looked at the size of my wife at that time. And my conscience kicked in and realized that, you know, I don't care how much I put into the sports, that I don't think they're ever going to make it to the NFL. And I don't ever think they're going to make it to the NBA because I looked at their skill set, even though they were pretty good at the Pop Warner level, I didn't think they were all that good, having watched sports most of my life. So I had to make a conscious decision. I had to push toward education because I knew the education I knew I didn't have LeBron. You automatically know if you got LeBron James in your house or Kobe Bryant in your house or Odell Beckham Jr. You can see right away whether that's the person you got. And if you don't, I'm saying push the education. And that's what I push. Now let me show you as parents, because here's where the hard part comes as parents, because you love sports. And so part of you are missing when they don't play the sports. And so you really don't see the idea or the need to push the education. Let me show you what I did, parents. As I pushed for 6th and 7th grade excellence so my children could get into the early college school system, as I made sure they had A's and B's, I knew I was stripping them from the possibility of playing sports by pushing education. I knew if I sent them to the early college program, they wouldn't be able to get or play on the basketball team or play on the football team. But there were alternative sports that they could master. I put them in boxing. They learn how to play golf. They learn how to ski down a ski slope. And that's replace their recreational activities so that when they walked into the early college program, and as Black children, they could ski down a ski slope, or they could show their medals that they had won in Atlanta from boxing pound per pound. Because, see, when you box pound per pound, you don't need a team. It's you and the coach. And that was able to replace that they missed from sports. I'm not saying just take them out of sports, but replace what you miss, what they're going to miss, and then push the education part. Because let me show you what happens because this is what we're doing, family. And I'm not saying I'm talking to the choir probably, some of you, but for the most part, I see parents pushing clothing, they're pushing sports, and they're pushing the wrong technology. Our children can tell you everything about social media, but they can't tell you how to build social media. Because we don't know the math of how to build the programs behind it, because we're not pushing mathematics. So by doing that, by making sure they're the best dressed person when they go to school, by making sure that they are on the basketball team or on the football team, but their grades are C's and D's, by us not pushing education, the Black student, the National Negro College Fund report said that 2/3 of all Black students are unprepared for college. That's that 31 to 40% achievement gap. It equals the 2/3 of Black students are unprepared to go to college. By us pushing the wrong things instead of education, we are putting our children and the next generation in an economic state that we're already in ourselves, because it wasn't pushed for us. Most of us, education wasn't pushed in our household. It was pushed to get good grades. A's is the best grade. That's the best grade. And every one of our students are capable of making A's. Our students are capable of making honor roll. See, if we let this achievement gap continue, then I'm not saying it longer, hard enough heard. If you keep letting this achievement gap stay the way it is, we're proving the scientists right. Because the scientists of this world say that's just how it is. Our children are not as smart as they are. I've been to their academic schools and saw their studies. And some of our own scholars have joined in on the study to say that, there's a slight reason why we just might not be as academically gifted. We're academically gifted, we just don't have the tools, and we as parents are putting the wrong tools in the toolbox. I'm gonna make it clear for you this year, because we're gonna talk about the school situation on Wednesdays till we get it straight. When you went to school today, or this Monday or Tuesday, they gave you a PTA form, Parent Teacher Association. I saw folks online complaining about the fee for the joining the PTA. Get on the PTA and get involved with your teachers. As parents, right now, you should know all of your teachers. This is the third day of school, folks. You should know all your teachers, what time your child's supposed to go to class, and your teacher should have your cell phone number and your Facebook page so they can get you. When I was at DC Virgo, I made the parents give me the Facebook page as well, because I knew if I couldn't get them on the phone, I could get them on Facebook. Sometimes the principal would come. I was at DC Virgo. Sometimes the principal would come. He said, "We need to find this mother," and they couldn't find the mother. They call and ring, ring, ring. I said, "Hold on, let me do something." I go to my Facebook page and send them an email inbox. They call the school back in 2 minutes. How you get them that fast? I know where they was at. They was on social media. That's why they couldn't get your phone call. Make sure that child's teacher has all of your information. When you get the note for the school conference, attend the school conference. My mind just said, somebody just told me in my mind, well, I got to work. I got to pay the bills for the child. I just said at the beginning of this program, we need to learn how to invest in education. Take a vacation day if you got to. But make sure that the teacher understands that you have. See, this is why this show is called Back to School Tips for Black Parents, because for you think that the teacher doesn't have a bias. I'm here to tell you, after working in the school system for 4 years, there is a bias. The moment she doesn't have your information, the moment the teacher doesn't have a way to contact you, the moment you haven't made a relationship with that teacher, the moment you done blew her off, you know how we can do? especially when it comes to a teacher that doesn't look like us. The moment you done smack your lips and roll your eyes, she looking at that. That's where that child gets it from. And automatically her bias kicks in. And when her bias kicks in, for the rest of the school year, she has a bias with that child. Parents, you are a reflection of your children, and your children are a reflection of you. If you come to school with an attitude, if you come to school, I don't care how right you may be. If you walk into that school in this new Hanover County school system with an attitude, because you mad because you got to be here, you done walked in automatically with an attitude because you got to be there because something happened in the class and you want to know why was your child pointed out. Now all of a sudden you can got an attitude. You just started off on the wrong foot. You just started off on the wrong foot now. Because that teacher is going to have a bias. And that bias is going to affect your child's learning. And your child's learning is going to continue to push that achievement gap up and down. It's going to keep on moving it up and down. It's just as simple as that. Teachers have bias too. Teachers have feelings too. And that's just how it is. Parents, check your children's homework, please. Don't just automatically assume that they did it. Have a book bag check. Start it in the elementary school, keep it going in the middle school, and I wouldn't care if you still live in your house in the high school, you have the right to check the book bag. They're in your house. We got to get back to basic, parents. Privacy in your house. How you have privacy in your house and they're not paying rent? They going to school still. They're not working anywhere. They want that much privacy. They need to get out and go somewhere else. You got to make sure we check the homework. There's no privacy. You go through those bags. You check those bags. You make sure, oh, son, why this assignment wasn't turned in? Know what the homework assignment. I don't know. I don't know how the new Hanover County school system is working now. Most teachers within the system have an email system. And when they put the information out, they send it to you right by email. You know what the assignments is for the week or the month, because most teachers have a schedule and they give it to you. So when you're sitting there at the dinner table, no, we don't do the dinner table. No, I'm sorry. So I'm old fashioned. When you're sitting there at the house and you see the Nintendo game is on and the friends are in the room talking, I said, son, did you start on your science project yet? I see it's due in like 2 weeks. And you know what you're gonna do? Oh, Mom, how you know about the science project? So now the antenna kicks in. The child is going to respond based on what your expectations are. If we don't hold our children to a higher standard of expectations, you cannot expect a person making $32,000 a year to hold your child to expectations that we don't even hold them to ourselves. Did I say it right? Yeah, I said it right there. If we don't hold our children to a higher standard of expectation, then we cannot expect a teacher that's making $32,000 a year to come behind you for 8 hours a day and hold your child to a standard of education that's going to make sure they make it in high school, out of high school into a college program. There is no reason, with all the economic advancements out here right now, that any child that graduates from school should not be able to go attend college for 4 years. You make them care. That's why they don't care. We always got excuses. You do one or two things. If they don't care, you make them care, or you take your child out of that school and put them in a school where they do care. And if that's not good enough, you put them in a private school. There's one right there on Castle Street called Ephesus Seventh-day Adventist. They don't care. You make them care. They're getting paid off your tax dollars. No more excuses. No more excuses. If the teacher does not care, you go to her boss. She has one. If you feel the teacher does not care about your child, you make sure you go to her boss. That's the assistant principal and the principal of the school, and you sit down with 3 of you all in the room until she figures it's time to care. And then if you don't get anything done at that level, you go to the next level. That's Mr. Holliday's office and Dr. Markley's office. You make sure you write them and let them know, I got a teacher that don't care about my child. And then if that don't work, you put your dollars together and you pull your child out that school and take them home and school them. But you make sure they get the education so that they can go to the next level. That's the objective. You make sure they can get an associate's degree, a 4-year degree, a master's degree, a doctorate degree. But just letting the teacher sit there and don't care, no, they're not going to get anything because that's what she's going to do. If they don't care and we don't care, there's going to be 2 people that don't care. And a child is going to be in that 31 to 40% achievement gap. Playtime is over. What kind of education events do you take your children through throughout the weekend? Is it all sport and play? The last time you've been down to the museum, to the library? Oh, we get everything on Google now. No, it's always a good book is better than anything. I keep a book in my bag. I'll take a good book over Google any day. Don't get so caught up on Google that we forget about the library. The hard paperback books, the feel of a book in our hand, reading it. Make sure your children check out books out the library, bring them home. I'm talking about start them off at elementary school with a book in their hand. You parents that are at home, this education is serious. You parents that are at home with infants that are 1, 2, 3, and 4 years old and not in school yet, cut the phone off. Get off Facebook. There's my granddaughter has a little show called Busy Beavers. And I put Busy Beavers on, you should see her little feet start kicking. My goal is for her to know her ABCs by the time she go into first grade. If she walk into first grade, she know her numbers, colors, ABCs, and shapes. You got 4 years of development right there with a child. You see these children that are out here graduating from school at 13 and 12 years old. You know how their parents are doing it because they start off with education when they're 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they make sure every time they get a chance, they're putting something educational in them. The cartoons are okay, but sitting in front of cartoons for 6 hours is not good. Make sure they get the educational aspects as well. And with today's technology, YouTube videos, wow. They'll sit there 30 minutes. And then as you increase, you'll see them. They start off with 15 minutes. I got a 9-month-old that sits and watches lessons right now 45 minutes at a time and will not move. For 45 minutes, we'll watch and sit there for 45 minutes at a time. You telling me that black students are not as strong as white students? I won't buy that. It's what we put into them. And whether we're going to give them the educational advantage to compete in this global world now. That's the idea, is to make sure they have the educational advantage to compete worldwide, to compete with the Asians, to compete with the Koreans, to compete with whites, to compete with the Hispanics. They should graduate from school knowing 2 languages, French, Spanish, Chinese, German. I don't want to go to no foreign language class. You need it for college. I don't like math. But you like to roll dice. Don't get me, you got me started when you told me that the teachers don't care. I understand sometimes the system is not a system against us. We have to stop the blame game and we have to force the system to be with us. We have to make the system what it's supposed to be or get out of the system and remove our children from that system. One or the other. But sitting in the middle of the road complaining doesn't cut it no more, because what's happening? Our children are still going to the jails. They're still getting suspended from school. They're still getting out of school, unable to find decent employment, going out finding other lifestyles to put money in their pocket because they want the finer things in life, because we've told them they're equal. And once we integrated into that box and told them that they are part of this American society, they have every opportunity. They want the finer things in life. They want to go out and eat. They want to be able to spend money. They want to buy clothes. And if you can't get it for them, and the school system can't get a job to get it for them, they're going to get it another way. It's just that simple. Now, crime rate going to keep going up, and we're going to keep seeing them on the 6 o'clock news. I didn't mean to preach to the choir today. I hope I'm not. I didn't mean to get started today, but you get me what you get when I get on this education thing. I talked about sports transition, didn't I? Attend all the conferences. Make sure those are basic tips. I haven't gotten to the heavy ones yet. There's going to be some children that get suspended this year. Parents, understand and know what to do if your child gets suspended. First thing, let's go through the scenario. I'm gonna wrap up today with this scenario because I noticed some children get suspended this week. Right? Some of us gonna get suspended because they come into school hyped up, juiced up sometime, and it just doesn't work. And again, sometimes the teachers don't care. Sometimes the office they get suspended. First thing you do when you get the phone call. This is. I want you to listen to me carefully. When you get the phone call that a child has been suspended, first thing to do is calm your nerves. Calm your nerves and get the facts. Don't get upset. Don't get bent out of shape. Don't lose your temper. And I know it's hard because that's your child. And your child's going to tell you a story, and you're going to believe that story because we believe our children. And we're going to defend our children. You're not going to let anybody take advantage of the children. I understand that, but calm your nerves. Calm down. And get the facts. And once you get the facts, then you're able to operate. If your child is getting suspended or sent home from school, they should get a letter. And on that letter, if you see the principal's phone number, email box, and everything, that's the first thing you do is set up a conference with him and the teacher because you want to know why. You want to talk about what happened. You want to discuss what happened. That's the first thing you do. You don't blow off the handle. And please, 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 parents, do not talk about your child's school, your child's principal, your child's teacher in front of your child. I'm gonna say that again. I saw it so often. Please do not. It's like this. When I was growing up, my mother and father used to argue. They never argued in front of us as children. They always went in the room. We heard them mumbling, but they made sure they never did it in front of us. That way we can never play mama against daddy. If they're arguing, mama say something about daddy, daddy say something about mama. Now as a child, when I got mama one-on-one, I slap her with what daddy say. Or when I got daddy, I hit him with what mama say. My mother and father made sure we didn't have that advantage because, boom, number one, they didn't want to pop us back in the mouth for getting sassy. Number two, they kept it in the room. You take that phone call outside or in your room and close the door. But don't take that phone call in front of your child and then get off the phone and talk about your child's school, your child's teacher, your child's principal, or the system. Because the child is going to now go to school and reflect what you gave them. And if you've already told them that the system don't care, then why are you sending me? That's how a child thinks. If you've already told me as a child that the system doesn't care, that the teachers doesn't care, that the principal doesn't care, that I can't grow in this system, then the child is saying to himself, why are you sending me to school then? Just simply because it's law? I've seen you break laws before. This is what the child is saying. I've seen you break the law. So why, when it comes to me, you can't break the law and keep me home, which is not breaking the law? If you're telling me as a child that I can't win in this system, then why are you sending me to school in the first place? That is how a child thinks. So if you want to give your child an advantage, to give the child a way to win, send them with a positive. Keep that information to yourself. If your child gets long-term suspended from school, I want you to call this radio station anytime this year and ask for no covers. I'm giving you the opportunity to do that. Anybody in my listening voice on 104.9 FM, on 1490 AM, 1180 AM, is on my Facebook page, it's on the gospel page. If you know of any student that gets long-term suspended this year, I want you to call this radio station. Or either call in on one of the shows, 765-0099. You'll find it. Because I want to help you walk through the steps of the long-term suspension. Because I sat on the board of the long-term suspension for 2 years. And I realized that most of our parents do not know the rules of long-term suspension. That is why Black children get suspended long-term. And the next thing you know, they end up in the jail and the incarceration system because they don't know their rights. And they don't follow the process and answer the letter. So I am putting us in a way for you all to get some help. Call the radio station and get in contact with anybody at the station, or get in contact with Bishop Butler here and tell them I need to find the brother that talks on No Cover Show. I need to find out Element. Because I want to help you be able to process that process, because it's been upsetting for me to years to see the disparity among long-term suspended schools. And when I go to the suspension school at JC Rowe, it really hurts me to see our children over there when I know many of them shouldn't be over there in the first place. I want to show you how to play the system. I want to show you how to win against a system that, yes, it's designed against you, but you still can win. I'm proof of that. I just told you at the beginning of the show, I sent mine to early college within the same system. There you go. I only sent one to private school at Ephesus because I wanted him to have the best, and I could afford it at the time. The rest of them I sent to regular public school. Matter of fact, Big B taught my son when he was a school teacher. Yeah. Made sure he went to early college. There are some good teachers out there. You just got to find them. There's some good schools out there. And there's some folks out there that want your child to succeed. But you got to meet them halfway, folks. Yes, there's some racism. It always has been. It always will be. It's not going anywhere. Nowhere during the time school. You have to put the effort in. You got to put some, what they call it? Brother Phil, what they call it? He's talking about it right now. I graduated from segregated school. My mother worked in white folks' kitchen, and my father had a 5th grade education. My mother is a retired college professor, and I retired U.S. Postal Service. We 6 college graduates, 1 medical doctor, 2 with master's degrees, 1 with 2 engineer's degrees, 2 teachers. We all come from north side of Williston. See, parents set the tone. Parents also had Williston in our own school. It was different back then. They set the tone because that was the community. We're in a different community now, and we got to understand that. Parents, you still set the tone, but I know what you're facing. You're looking next door to the parent who don't care. You're looking next door to the other parent that don't care. You figure in the middle, like, why should I care? You got to. It's your child. It's their life. Their life is on the line. Every time you send them on a yellow school bus or send them to that school, you are sending them to the killing fields if you don't participate. If you're sending them to this, I'm not. I see my sister up there. I know what you mean when they don't care. Yes, I got that. But you're sending them to the killing fields. If you only have one. See, I've always said, people say, well, what are we gonna do? And I've always said, pull them all out. You want New Animal County school system change? Pull them all out of school. That's what they did in the what they did. Pull them out of school. Let the government come down and give you some changes. But if we're not willing to do that, we're going to keep sending them to the fields. Then we got to go into the field and make sure we put the antidote in place for the bad teachers. We got to put the antidote in place for the bad principles that we may run into. And then we also have to find the good ones and make sure our children get acquainted with that one that's good. If I got to move them out of 5 classrooms to put them in a classroom that I know the teacher cares, because you have to make sure you and let me explain something to you, parents. I got enough time there. Let me explain this to you, parents. You have to be personal about this. It can't be a group thing. That you're so busy worried about what the other parents do. Don't worry about what they do. You make sure yours get theirs. This guy, you have to be. It has to be. You have to look at your children in your household. 1, 2, 3. How many? 5. If you got 7. You have to look at all 7 of those children and make a personal investment that said, just like Brother Thizzle, I'm going to make sure that you get everything you need. So when you get into the 11th and 12th grade, that you're able to pass that ACT, SAT test, and you're able to get into a college paid for. There has to be a personal investment that every one of your children, you can't pick one or the other. You got to say every one of these children are going to go and get them a college education. Because if they don't have it, they can't compete in this world. You keep waiting for the next Jay-Z and the next Kanye, and you keep waiting for the next Shaq and the next Kobe to put a ball in. You keep waiting for the next Odell Beckham Jr. You keep waiting and letting them be the next Denzel Washington, and you keep waiting to let them be, keep waiting on that. They come far and few, too many. They're talented, they're gifted. They come far and few. And Hollywood ain't gonna let, and there are many gifted basketball, football, there are many gifted actors that don't get in. It's a system in America that's not gonna let all of them in, they let some of them in. And then we look at them and we glorify them and we're like, oh, we want them to be there. But our child goes to school and doesn't know anything about Charles Drew, Lewis Latimer, Soldier of Truth, Mary Clyde Bethune. Our teachers can't even tell you who their teachers are. They don't know. We send them to a school system, inspect the school system, teach them what we should be teaching on your door to go to the refrigerator, because you know they're gonna go in it eventually. Every day. I got to the point I stopped posting some of the posts I post every day with the Black History because you wasn't utilizing it. A 365-page manual of Black History, you don't even call me for it. 365 days a year, I give you not the regular stuff, the Dr. King and the Malcolm X, not like the good stuff. The stuff that you don't, the history that they didn't give you, the history that they won't give you. You got Dr. Eaton's house sitting right over there, and our children walk past and don't even know who Dr. Eaton is. In Wilmington. In Wilmington. You go to the average school in New Hanover County and go to the classroom and ask the children who Dr. Eaton is, and his house right there, they won't even tell you who he is. And we as parents, some of us don't know who he is and live in the city. And we wondering why the achievement gap is like this, because they have no inspiration to achieve other than to be a basketball player and a football player, and there's only so many of them on the team. We haven't inspired them to achieve greatness. We haven't inspired them to be the person who comes up to be the nuclear scientist or the nuclear engineer. If they don't know who Benjamin Banneker, they don't know about Big Ben. Your house should have hidden colors 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in them. Our children should know the history verbatim. You should go to the YouTube sites and be able to find the history. I'm gonna give y'all a site called AA Registry. I get mine every day from y'all. Don't. This stuff you see on my page, I didn't invent this stuff. I just research it. I don't invent. I get. That's why I always, whenever I post, I always try to post the credit of where I got it from. Because I don't want you to think I invented it. I didn't invent this stuff. Go to AA Registry. It's called AA, African American Registry. Go to it. It's a website. You can pull up every day, and they give you at least 15 people, 6 to 15 people that some of you probably never heard of in history. Some from your hometown that you never heard of in history. Your children should have that on their refrigerator door so that when they go to school and the math gets hard, Oh, I know a mathematician that handled this problem. They're able to work it out because they now have something that inspires them to work it out. They know about Mr. Chestnut over on the Fortune 500. When they sit in a Red Lobster, they can say, oh, a black man run this place. He runs the whole CEO of the whole place. We got to make sure they get it, y'all. We have to push this education. We have to, I didn't mean to be hard. I did mean to be hard. I'm not going to apologize for being hard with you when it comes to education. I did mean to be hard. Hope I struck some nerves. Hope I stepped on some toes. When it comes to education, then when it came to a basketball game, I could care less sometimes. But when it comes to education, I hope I touched some toes, I touched some hearts, and touched some parents, and they say, you know what? I need to get on ball. He's saying, yeah. I hope I reach some parents that's going to reach out this year when they get that long-term suspension notice. They're going to call the radio station and say, look, I need to get in contact with that brother that said he can help me walk through this because I want to make sure my child gets back in school and get back in there on time. I don't want him to be another statistic. I hope I've encouraged some parents to go through these book bags on Wednesday and Friday, so that on Friday, you know what they need to have on Monday to turn in. I hope I'd encourage some parents to cut the Facebook and the social media page off during school season at certain times. That you don't let them sit at home all day long and play video games and be on social media all day long, and they're not learning anything educationally and putting it in their hands so they can compete with that person over there that's studying. I was a study one time. He showed some Asian children they play sports early in the morning because they come home, they got work to do. We got to make sure our children are ready and prepared and equipped with the right tools in the toolbox. And those tools are not Jordans. Only thing they're going to do is get old and they're going to need another pair. But what you put in your brain is always going to be there. Understand that, family. The clothes that you buy them, the shoes that you buy them, the nails that you get done for them, the new hair that you get for them to put in and look all good, that's going to wear out and you're going to have to replace that. But knowledge never has to be replaced. Once it's in your brain, it stays there unless you get Alzheimer's or something and lose it. It's always there. You can always pull it up. You put it in your short-term memory and then take it to the long term. And you can always pull it up. Knowledge is irreplaceable. That's why we say seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave, because once you get it, it's irreplaceable. You can take knowledge anywhere in the world. A foreign language anywhere in the world. Reading music anywhere in the world. Them clothes are going to get old. Them shoes going to wear out. That hair going to have to be replaced. Them nails going to have to be done again. It's just that simple. Now, which one you want to invest in? To save your children and make sure they are equipped with the right tools in the toolbox to have a good school year this year, and make sure that they're off on the right track so we can close this gap, because we need to get this gap at like 0%, 0 points. I'm getting tired of watching it. I'm gonna get at you in 1990 to 2015 is still between 30 to 40 points of attention achievement gap between black and white students. That's a shame. And it's not on the school system, it's on us to change that reality and make it better for our children to be able to achieve. I appreciate you all for tuning in today. We'll be back on Friday. Got a special show I don't want to announce. I just got a phone call from the sister. I'm going to call her right after the show. We're hoping to have Umar Johnson on the air on Friday. Dr. Umar Johnson, he's in Raleigh on Saturday, and we're trying to get him in. So if I get that done, I'm going to send that back out later on today on my page. Stay tuned for it. If we can get him, we're going to do a call in with him on Friday on the show. Also, Anita Earls is coming on September the 19th here to the radio station. If you all don't know what Anita Earls is, she's running for the sister running for the North Carolina Supreme Court in North Carolina. our sister running for North Carolina Supreme Court. She'll be right here at the radio station. We want all you to come out. Bring. If you're voting, it's called Vote for Your Life. You need to meet these candidates and know what they stand for. We need to support her and show her some Wilmington love when she comes into the city. So that's at September the 19th, right here at this radio station. I want you to tune in to Harvard's show this afternoon. Harvard and they have a show at 4:30. Make sure you tune in their show. They're also switching over to 104.9 FM and 1490 AM as well. Stay tuned and stay focused. Stay with us. We got some big things happening this year. Hopefully we get that call in on Friday, but make sure you mark that date, September the 19th. Evelina Earls running for the North Carolina Supreme Court will be in Wilmington, North Carolina, and she will be here in our studio. We're having a reception upstairs. That is at 5:30. Get off work, come straight here. Make sure you get here. Make sure you bring a friend that can vote, because we need to make sure we vote for our life. I appreciate all the callers that are calling on Facebook. I'll come back tonight and read through some of your comments, comment back to you, and I'll also post the show on your pages as well. I'll be back Friday with Healthy Living Friday. Hustle Muscle will be in as we do every Friday. We do Healthy Living on Friday. And Monday, my political folks will be back in. I missed last week. I had a whole lot to talk about with that food last week. We had a lot to talk about political. I had to take that vacation. I enjoyed myself. And I love you all. Appreciate you all. As always, we say, keep running. Don't stop. Don't stop. It's just when you get tired, just keep running.